Welcome back. It is time to talk about our bird of the week, otherwise known as Bow. And we've got Sarah Baxter from Arkansas Game and Fish here to talk about this week's bird, the eastern Phoebe. But before we get to that, we've got some unfinished business.
Right.
About the ivory-billed woodpecker. And we had a few calls and some emails. And, well, we want to straighten some things out.
Okay.
First of all, let's talk about whether or not the ivory-billed woodpecker is extinct.
Okay.
Is it still around, Sarah?
Well, that's kind of a tricky question. There are those who believe, yes, it is extinct, and there are those who believe not.
Okay.
It's officially listed on the IUCN Red List as critically endangered. It was previously listed as extinct, and then there were some reported sightings in the early 2000s here in Arkansas that led to further research. And they went out and spent a lot of time looking. A lot of people were out there. They had a lot of equipment doing recordings and things like that. And there was some evidence that suggested that it was there. And there are some people that believe definitely the ivory-billed woodpecker was still around at that time.
Yeah.
And there are about just as many that believe it was a case of mistaken identity.
And what were you were looking at back at home was not the ivory-billed woodpecker. Last week we also talked about the red-bellied woodpecker.
Right.
And one of the questions was it wasn't whether it was a part of the pileated woodpecker family. I think this was the ivory-billed.
Right. So we said that the video that came out may have been a pileated woodpecker that people were seeing, or just in general, a lot of people may have seen a pileated woodpecker and believed that it might have been an ivory-billed. And I said that they were in the same genus, and that was not correct. They're in the same family, but they're not in the same genus.
All right. And once again, what is the difference between being in the same family and the same genus, real quick?
It's just a degree of relatedness. So all the woodpeckers are together in the woodpecker family, but then they break off into a couple of different genuses.
Okay. Okay. So there we go. We hope to clear some of those items up there. Now can we move along and talk about the eastern Phoebe?
Yes.
Let's do that. Let's talk about the eastern Phoebe. I don't know, you know what, it could have, some people may see a pterodactyl. I don't know if they're completely extinct, but big winged bird, big long, okay. I'm being silly now, but let's talk about this eastern Phoebe. Tell us about this bird.
Okay, well, this is another of our common birds. I've done a couple of common birds the past couple of weeks, and this is another pretty common bird. It's listed as a species of least concern. Its population is actually rising, and it's a common species here in Arkansas throughout the state. And throughout the year, actually. Northwest Arkansas, they don't winter there so much, but the rest of the state, you can see them year-round. And they're really great. They're a member of the flycatcher family. There are a lot of birds in the flycatcher family. And they're named flycatchers because of the way that they forage or that they feed. What they do is they get on a snag or a branch or a low twig, and they sit and they watch for insects, their primary food item, and they catch them in the air. They'll leave their perch and they'll circle around and grab their prey in midair and land back on the exact same perch.
Okay.
And that's how they hunt.
What about their nesting? I think I've had a pair of these at my house before, but I just want to, it may have been a different bird, but how do they nest?
I'm glad you said that. It's very true, and that's one of the reasons I chose this bird. A lot of people have seen them because they nest a lot of the time in people's carports, on their front porch, on their back deck.
Back deck, underneath the back deck?
Yes, and they like to get right underneath the overhang so that their chicks are protected from weather and also from predators. And they build it a lot of the time just on a vertical shelf. I mean, they'll just build it right up against there with mud and moss and really soft stuff. And so that's why a lot of people have seen them but didn't know what they were. Had
a family of Phoebes, had a mommy and daddy that did two nests. I mean, did two cycles, I should say.
Right.
So, okay, well, that's cool stuff there. And what about the tidbit behind their name? Why are they called the Phoebe?
That's a really good question. I'm not real sure. Oh,
okay.
Actually, it's because of the way that they're, sorry, good. It's their call.
Oh, okay,
the way that their call, they say, Phoebe, they say their name.
Phoebe.
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 And another really interesting thing about the Phoebe is, so everybody has heard of duck banding. You know, you've heard people that duck hunt, and it's a really good thing to get a duck that has a band on its leg.
Oh, okay.
And people don't realize that they band songbirds as well. At little teeny tiny bands, they do. And this is to do population studies and stuff. Okay. The very first bird ever banded in North America was an eastern Phoebe in 1804 by John James Audubon. He tied a little silver thread around the ankle of a Phoebe to see if it was the same bird coming back every year.
All right, we have 20 seconds. Show us these little books you brought.
Well, we've got a little program called Wings Over Arkansas, and what it is you just count up the number of species of birds that you see, and you turn it in, and you get certificates based on what level level you are, a little certificate and a lapel pin. You can request this from Game and Fish.
We'll have more on this coming up with Sarah. That's going to wrap it up for us today. Sarah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank
Hey,
you.
remember the news is always on at today'sthv.com.